spiritual life. But people are very reluctant to accept this. Coach who teaches you how to run well. Coach who teaches you how to run well. So also, just like you must have a teacher in every walk of life, you must also have a teacher specifically and specially in spiritual life. But people are very reluctant to accept this. They are willing to accept a teacher in every walk of life. Everything comes naturally to me. But my dear friend, nothing comes naturally to anybody. Nothing comes naturally to anybody. 8 years old, like this. But people are very reluctant to accept this. They are willing to accept a teacher in every walk of life, but when it comes to spiritual life, they feel that, in spiritual life, I don't need a teacher. Everything comes naturally to me. But my dear friend, nothing comes naturally to anybody. Nothing comes naturally to anybody. You may think that there are some things which are natural and they cannot be improved upon. But even if something comes naturally to you, you can improve upon it. For example, your breathing. What can be more natural than breathing? Because nobody has taught you to breathe. From the time you emerged from your mother's womb, you have started breathing automatically. Nobody has tried to teach you how to breathe. But in actual fact, you can learn how to breathe. That is what pranayam is all about. Pranayam is the science of breathing. And if you have a teacher who is experienced in the science of breathing or pranayam, he can actually show you how to breathe so that you can have a better health, a more peaceful mind and a longer life. If you go to Kumbh Mela, you will see hundreds and thousands of sadhus, and many of them are more than 200-300 years old. How have they reached that age? You might think, it's a story. It's not a story. For example, Vrindavan, there is one Babaji who comes there, who when Rajendra Prasad was a child, that Babaji was already an old man. Now Rajendra Prasad, as you know, he was the president of India. And he died some time ago, a very old man. So you can imagine that when Rajendra Prasad was a small child, that Babaji was an old man. And he has been coming every year to Vrindavan. So he is well over 200-300 years old. Like this, there are so many sadhus who come to Kumbh Mela. They are already 200-300 years old. How have they reached that lifespan? They have reached that lifespan because they have learned and mastered the science of breathing. Actually, according to Vedic scriptures, every breath that you take has been measured out to you. You have been allotted a certain number of breaths in your life. And if you use up these breaths, you shorten your life. For example, when you get excited, when you are under stress, when you get angry, what happens? You breathe very fast. And when that happens, you are actually eating away your own life. When you have sex life, again you breathe fast. Again you are shortening your life. So when you learn the science of breathing and when you can actually learn to stop breathing altogether, when you can learn to breathe fewer breaths, what you are doing is actually you are lengthening your life, you are increasing your vitality, you are increasing your health. So breathing, you might think, comes naturally, but even breathing can be improved on if you have a teacher who has mastered the science of breathing, that is pranayam. In fact, knowledge does not come from books. Knowledge does not come from institutions. Knowledge comes from persons. Never imagine that knowledge comes from books. Never imagine that knowledge comes from institutions. Knowledge must come from a person. For example, I am a surgeon today. But did I become a surgeon by taking a surgery book and after reading the book started experimenting on patients? Certainly not. I had to graduate from medical college. I had to qualify and do my post-graduation. After doing post-graduation, I had to work with a surgeon who was skilled and experienced, and after being apprenticed to him, acquired skill to be called a surgeon. This is the process. Simply by reading a book, you cannot become a doctor or a surgeon. You must acquire knowledge from a person. from somebody who is more advanced in that field. Don't think that because you passed from some big university, you have learnt everything. For example, if you are a graduate of Harvard University, you might think that, oh, I have graduated from Harvard University, what more is there to learn? But in actual fact, there are even books which tell you what they do not teach you at Harvard Business School. There's a book by that name. What they do not teach you at Harvard Business School, because an institution can only teach you so much. You learn the hard facts from an individual person who is more advanced on the path than you are. In business life, you have to learn from your father or from your uncle or from somebody in the line who is more senior, who is more experienced than you. He can show you the ropes. He can teach you what mistakes you should not make. This is the process in everything. Whether it's recreation like music or singing or dancing or swimming or running, whether it is something that comes naturally to you like breathing, or whether it's your profession or whether it's your business or whether it's your job, everything has to be learned from a person. And actually just try to figure it out. Each of these things can form only one facet of your life. For example, your work or your job or your business or profession, it can occupy how many hours of your day? 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours of your day, not more than that. Or if you are learning music or singing or dancing, it can occupy only a few hours in the week, yet you are willing to accept a teacher. But when it comes to spiritual life is not reserved for some hours in the day. Spiritual life permeates every moment that you are alive. That means it fills up every corner and chink of your time. 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year. That is what spiritual life is about. It is not 5 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening. Spiritual life means your whole life becomes spiritual. So for 2 hours a day or 8 hours a day, you are willing to take a teacher. But for something that takes up all your life, that you don't want a teacher. That you can manage by yourself. That is the unfortunate attitude that most people have. But in actual fact, in no walk of life do you require a teacher more than in spiritual life. In no walk of life do you require a teacher more than in spiritual life. Who says it? All the scriptures say it. In the Kathopanishad it has been said that Uttishta Jagrata Varan Nibodata Shurasya Dhara Nishita Duratyaya Durgam Patastad Kavayo Vadanti. That arise awake, take the shelter of a self-realized soul, take guidance from a self-realized soul, because spiritual life is like a razor's edge. What razor? Not the electric shaver. We are talking about the cutthroat razor. For example, of course nowadays people don't use that razor anymore, but the cutthroat razor is a very dangerous instrument. If you don't know how to use it, you can cut yourself more easily than you can shave your face. Therefore, for one who is shaving for the first time, if you have a 14-year-old boy who is learning to shave for the first time, will you give him a cutthroat razor which is very sharp and tell him, shave yourself? What will happen? He'll cut himself up. Because it is a razor which can cut you more easily than you can shave. So, it has been said that spiritual life is like a razor's edge. Shurasya Dhara. It is a Shurasya Dhara, it's a razor's edge. And in spiritual life, you can cut yourself, you can hurt yourself in spiritual life more easily than you can benefit in spiritual life. This is a very important point. That in spiritual life, you can get burnt more easily than you can benefit. In fact, this razor's edge has been used by Somerset Maugham in one of his books, The Razor's Edge, where he quotes from Kathopanishad. And he says, Durgam Patastad Kavayo Vadanti. Because the path is very rough going. The path is very rough going. There are many obstacles in the path. Who says that? Kavayo Vadanti. Great learned sages have said that. So the path of spiritual life is not a picnic. The path of spiritual life has got many obstacles. It has got many difficulties. And it is a razor's edge. You can hurt yourself. You can cut yourself. You can cause more harm to yourself than you can get benefit. Therefore, you should take the guidance of a spiritual master. This is the opinion of all the scriptures. It has also been said in the Mandukya Upanishad, Tad Vijnanartham sa gurum eva bhi gachet. that if you want to learn the science of self-realization, then a spiritual master is essential. Eva bhi gachet. You must have a spiritual master. It's not an option. It's not either or. He doesn't say that if you have a spiritual master, it will help you. He doesn't say that. He says that if you want to learn the science of self-realization, you must have a spiritual master. That tad vijnanartham sa gurum eva bhi gachet. You must have. Take the example of Lord Krishna. Krishna is standing right before Arjuna. That means God is standing directly before his devotee. And although God is standing directly before his devotee, what is he telling his devotee? What does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? He says, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnanina sattvadarshina. He says, my dear Arjun, please take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Humbly serve him and ask questions unto him. A self-realized soul can show you the truth because he has seen it. God, who is speaking to Arjuna directly, is telling him, you approach a spiritual master and learn from him because he can actually show you the truth. So even God is advising in the Bhagavad Gita that take a spiritual master, although he is standing before his devotee. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also it has been said that Tasmat Gurum Prapadyet Jignashu Shreya Uttamam Shabde Pare Nishnatam Brahmanya Upashamashrayam. It has been said that anyone who is seriously desirous of happiness, seriously, if you are seriously desirous of lasting happiness, then you must search out and you must find and take shelter of a bona fide guru who is actually well versed in the scriptures in knowledge and who's realized the scriptures in wisdom and who's able to convince others of the essence of the scriptures by means of debate and argument. This is the instruction of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So all the scriptures advise that you have to take a spiritual master because the path of spiritual life means that you can hurt yourself more easily than you can benefit. Therefore, you must take the guidance of a spiritual master. And in fact, God himself sets the example. Sometimes you have heroes on the path of spiritual life who say, aha, taking a guru, that's for the neophyte. It's for the ordinary guy on the street. Me, I am very much advanced on the path of spiritual life. I must have advanced through many, many lifetimes before I came here. Therefore, for me, there's no necessity for taking a guru. There's no necessity for me. Other people, yes, of course, other people should take. But I don't need to take. But Krishna himself sets the example. Because when God comes down as avatar, he sets the example by personally taking guru. What is the need for God to have guru? God is the original guru. He is Param Guru. So God is original guru. He is Param Guru. But although he is Param Guru, he is himself accepting a spiritual master. Why does he do that? Because he says, Yad yad acharati shreshtas tatta devataro jana sa yad pramanam kurute lokas tad anuvartate. That as the leader in society does, so do others follow. And whatever standards the leaders in society set by exemplary acts, the rest of the world follows. So even if you are a realized saint, still it is incumbent on you that you must accept a spiritual master. Because when Ram came, he accepted Vashisht. When Krishna came, he accepted Sandipani Muni. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he accepted Ishvara Puri. In this way, when God comes as an avatar, when God descends in this world, he sets an example for the rest of the world because he knows there will be many rascals in spiritual life who will say, aha, I don't need guru. Maybe you need guru. I don't need guru. I am very advanced. So because God anticipates that such rascals will exist in Kali Yuga, he specifically sets the example by himself accepting guru. Furthermore, God says that unless you approach him through his devotee, he will not accept you. The fact is that today, if you go out on the street and you tell people that you're a devotee of God, if you're a devotee of Krishna, people will say, aha, you're a devotee of God. मैं भी कृष्ण भगवान का भक्त हूँ. I am also a devotee of Krishna. And you will hear this from everybody. You will hear it from the bus conductor, you will hear it on the train, you will hear it if you go for a walk. Anywhere you go, you will find people who say, I am also Krishna Bhagavan ka bhakt, I am also a devotee of Krishna, I am also a devotee of Krishna. In fact, we have been devotees of Krishna for many generations. You have discovered Krishna now. I have been a devotee of Krishna for many generations. My family have been devotees of Krishna for generations. But what does Krishna think? What does Krishna think? Does Krishna accept all these devotees? That you should hear from Krishna himself. Because Krishna says in the Adi Puran, he says, Ye me bhakta jana partha na me bhaktaschaye jana. Krishna denies the fact that there is devotees. They may think that there is devotees, but Krishna doesn't think so. He says, Ye me bhakta jana partha na me bhaktaschaye jana. He's telling Arjun that all these people who are claiming to be my devotees, they are not my devotees. He says that mad bhaktanam chaye bhaktas te me yuktatmo mata. He says those who are devotees of my devotee, they are my real devotees. So this is what it means to become a devotee of Krishna. It means you must become a devotee of Krishna. You cannot become a devotee of Krishna directly. This is what Krishna says in Adi Puran to Arjuna. He tells him that ye me bhakta jana partha na me bhaktaschaye jana. These people who are claiming to be my devotees, they are not my devotees. But only those who are the devotees of my devotees, they are my real devotees. That's why when Krishna is standing before Arjuna, just imagine to have God standing directly in front of you. Krishna is standing in front of Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. But still he is telling Arjuna that tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam aninas tattva darshana. That my dear Arjun, take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, serve him humbly, ask questions unto him. A self-realized man can show you the truth because he has seen it. So although God is standing in front of Arjuna, he is telling him, you take a spiritual master. You might ask that, if God is standing in front of you, why do you need spiritual master? Because God says you cannot become a devotee of him directly. You must take the shelter of his devotee. In this way, you can approach God. So you might think that, why is it then that if in every walk of life we need a teacher, if in every profession, every business, every job we need a teacher, a person who's progressed on the path ahead of us, if all the scriptures recommend a teacher, if in addition to all the scriptures recommending a spiritual master, God himself sets the example, because when he comes down, he himself accepts Guru. Furthermore, you also find that not only does God accept Guru, but he also says that those who are not devotees of my devotees are not my devotees. He rejects you, God rejects you if you do not approach him through his devotee. Then why is it that people are so reluctant to accept a spiritual master? The answer is that this is Kali Yuga. And in Kali Yuga, what do you have? In Kali Yuga, you have two types of people, the cheaters and the cheated. So on one hand you have cheaters, on the other hand you have people who are just waiting to be cheated. And if you are not a cheater, you are always afraid that I might be cheated. This is a natural thought, that fine, I am willing to accept a spiritual master, but there is always a chance that I will be cheated. Because in actual fact, there are more quacks, there are more hoaxsters, and there are more rascals in spiritual life or taking the pretense of spiritual life than there are in other professions. Because in other professions it's more easy to spot them out. In other professions it's more easy to spot out who's a cheat and who's a trickster. But in spiritual life they'll always say, oh, you don't have faith in me, that's the main reason why you don't think me to be a spiritual master. So they're always trying to tell you that the defect is in you, not in them. So therefore they're always trying to tell you that you must have faith, you must be willing to be cheated, only then you can accept me. So people are always reluctant, because nobody wants to be cheated, because if you are cheated in spiritual life, what a kick in the teeth it is. What a kick in the pit of the stomach. It destroys your faith even in God. So if you don't want to be cheated, you must first of all understand the qualifications of a spiritual master. Just like if you want to buy gold, you can be cheated in the market if you go to buy gold.
But you must know where gold is sold, where authentic gold is sold. You must know what gold is like. And you must know how to judge real gold from false gold. Then you can buy gold. If you want to buy diamonds, you can be cheated. Somebody may sell paste. But you should know what are the qualities of diamond. And you should know where to get diamonds from. Then you are unlikely to be cheated. If you want to buy shares, if you want to go to the stock market and you want to buy shares, you can be cheated there also. But you should know where to go and you should know what is the value and how to buy them. So this holds good in any walk of life. Knowledge is very important, because if you don't have knowledge, you can be cheated. So first of all, I will do what are the qualifications for a spiritual master. The qualifications for a spiritual master are also mentioned in scriptures. In the Mandukya Upanishad, it has been stated, Tad Vijnanartham Sa Gurum Eva Bigachet, that if you want to learn the science of self-realization, you must accept spiritual master. But it has also been mentioned over there, his qualifications. Samit Pani Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. And the spiritual master has two qualifications. What are the two qualifications of spiritual master? That he is Shrotriyam and he is Brahmanishtam. What do you mean by Shrotriyam? Let's do that first. Shrotriyam means that he has heard from the right source. Shrotriyam means he has heard from the right source. That means he must come in parampara. That means he must have heard from a self-realized spiritual master, who has in turn heard from a self-realized spiritual master, who has in turn heard from a self-realized spiritual master, until that chain stops at God. Because the principles of religion can come only from God himself. They cannot be concocted, they cannot be manufactured, they cannot be created by some philosopher, they must be coming from God himself. It has been said, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam, na vai vidur rishyo napi deva. That the principles of religion come from God himself, they cannot be manufactured by any rishi or by any demigod. Only God can give principles of religion. Therefore, you get the principles of religion only from God, and this message of God must come to you in an unbroken chain of disciplic succession from self-realized masters until it approaches you. Then only you are getting the actual message. That means you must come in parampara. And in the Padma Puran, it has been mentioned what is the meaning of parampara. In the Padma Puran, it has been said that Sampradaya Vihinan Mantraste Nishphala Mata. That whatever mantra, whatever spiritual knowledge you get, if it doesn't come to you in Sampradaya, if it doesn't come to you in disciplic succession, then they will be Nishphala. That means they will not give you any fruit, you will not get any spiritual benefit. And furthermore, the Padma Puran goes on to describe the Sampradayas that exist in Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, there are only 4 Sampradayas. Just like in Bombay city, there are only 4 medical colleges. If you want to become a doctor, then you have to get admission to one of the 4 medical colleges. If you want to become an MBBS doctor, you must join one of these 4 medical colleges. You can join Grand Medical College, or you can join GS Medical College at KEM, or you can join Sion Hospital where they have a medical college, or you can join Medical College which is at Nair Hospital. Only 4 medical colleges. If you want to become an MBBS doctor, otherwise you can become anything else. Not recognized as MBBS doctor. You can call them quack or you can call them whatever, what have you. But you cannot become an MBBS doctor and if you have not got admission in these 4 medical colleges in this city. So also it has been mentioned in the Padma Puran that there are 4 Sampradayas in which you can take instruction. These 4 Sampradayas have been mentioned as the Brahma Sampradaya, the Rudra Sampradaya, the Shri Sampradaya and the Kaumara Sampradaya. Today you are hearing this message from the Brahma Sampradaya, you are hearing from the Brahma Gaudiya Sampradaya. What do we mean by Brahma Gaudiya Sampradaya? It means that this knowledge was revealed by God first of all to Brahma. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavayo. That first of all this knowledge was related by God directly into the heart of Brahma. Brahma revealed this knowledge to Narad Muni. Narad Muni revealed this knowledge to Ved Vyas. Vedavyas revealed this knowledge to Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya gave this knowledge to his disciples, and it came down in disciplic succession until through Madhavendra Puri begins the Gaudiya Sampradaya. And in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, it has come down in disciplic succession through His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and through my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Kirtananand Swami Bhaktipad, because of whom you are hearing the message today. So that is the meaning of Sampradaya. So you are hearing from the Brahma Sampradaya, the Gaudiya branch of the Brahma Sampradaya. The original Brahma Sampradaya was given from Brahma through Narad Muni, through Vyas, and from Vyas to Madhvacharya. For example, if you go to Udupi, if you go to the Sri Krishna Mutt there, they are the direct descendants, or they also follow in Sampradaya, in Parampara, from the Brahma Sampradaya. That is also a valid place where you can get genuine knowledge about God. This is also a place where you can get genuine knowledge about how to reach Godhead. You also have Rudra Sampradaya. In the Rudra Sampradaya, knowledge is given by God to His greatest devotee, that is Lord Shiva. And from Lord Shiva, this knowledge is given down to Vishnu Swami. And from Vishnu Swami, it comes down in disciplic succession. And today, the most prominent branch of this Rudra Sampradaya is also known as a Vallabhacharya Sampradaya, because Vallabhacharya was one of the most prominent acharyas in that Sampradaya. So today, if you go to Nathdwara, you will find those people from that Sampradaya. So the Vallabhacharya Sampradaya is also known as the Rudra Sampradaya. It comes in bona fide disciplic succession from Lord Krishna himself. That's also a bona fide place where you can find a spiritual master. You also have the Sri Sampradaya. In the Sri Sampradaya, you have knowledge given by the Lord to his consort Lakshmi Devi. And Lakshmi Devi, who is also known as Sri, gives this knowledge in disciplic succession through Ramanujacharya. And through Ramanujacharya, it has come down in disciplic succession, and there are many places in India where you can get this knowledge from the Sri Sampradaya. And of course, you also have the Kaumara Sampradaya, where the knowledge has been given by God to the 4 Kaumara brothers, and the most prominent Acharya in the disciplic succession is Nimbarkacharya. And today in Vrindavan, if you go, you will find many people from the Nimbarkacharya Sampradaya as well. So these are the 4 schools from where you can get knowledge which is bona fide, which comes in disciplic succession. Therefore, if you want to seek genuine knowledge, if you want to seek genuine path to Godhead, you must approach one of these 4 schools. There is no other way. You must approach one of these 4 schools and get instruction from one of these 4 schools if you want to become a devotee of Lord Krishna. That is the only way you can do it. But unfortunately, people are not so choosy. I remember my friend. My friend, he's actually purchased a dog. So I had gone over to his house and he was telling me about how wonderful his dog was. Because how did he get his dog? He has selected his dog very carefully. His dog is a pedigreed dog. So what do you mean by pedigreed dog? He was boasting to me that he can tell me the father and he can tell me the mother of this dog back for about 20-30 generations. Because his dog's parents were imported from Germany. So since his dog's parents were imported from Germany, he has got a long lineage of this dog, going all the way back about 20-30 generations. So he can say who was the original dog from whom all the dogs came down, until he has got this beautiful specimen of a German Shepherd today. So I was telling him, I said, you are so choosy, you are so careful when you select a dog, that you have gone back 20-30 generations to see that your dog comes in parampara. But in actual fact, when it comes to seeking God, you are not so choosy. That when you are seeking God, you are willing to accept anybody who sat under a tree and who says, I have realized God. So people in Kali Yuga, they are very careful about choosing their dog. But when it comes to choosing a path back to Godhead, they are not so choosy. So we should try to understand that actually we should be very careful where we get knowledge about God from. It must come from one of the 4 sampradayas. either from the Brahma Sampradaya or from the Rudra or Vallabhacharya Sampradaya, or you must get this knowledge from the Sri Sampradaya, Ramanuja Sampradaya, or you must get it from the Nimbarkacharya Sampradaya, also known as Kaumara Sampradaya. Only then will you get genuine bona fide knowledge. But it is not sufficient to find somebody in these Sampradayas. You must also find somebody in these Sampradayas who is having the second qualification. It's not only that he should be Shrotriyam, it's not only that he should have heard from the right source, but it's also equally important that he should also be Brahmanishtam. That means he should also be spiritually realized. That means he is fixed in the absolute truth. What are the qualities of one who is fixed in the absolute truth? This is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita it has been mentioned that Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantasya Dridvrata Namasyantas Tumam Bhaktya Nitya Yukta Upasate. This person, you can see that he is fixed in the absolute truth because he always talks only about God. He is only interested in God, he is only interested in talking about God. He is always engaged in offering obeisances to God, he is always worshipping God. These are his characteristics. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is asked by Arjuna. He says, how do I recognize this person who is situated above the modes of material nature? What is his behavior? And how can I be like him? So 3 questions are asked by Krishna. How do I recognize him? What are his characteristics? What is his behavior? And how can I be like him? And Krishna answers him. He says, first of all, you can recognize him by his characteristics. And what are his characteristics? Such a person is not moved by heat or cold. He is not moved by honor or dishonor. He is not moved in happiness or distress. These are his characteristics. This message is repeated throughout Bhagavad Gita. Right in the beginning he says, Dukheshu anudvigna mana sukheshu vigata spriha vitaraga bhaya krodha sthitadi muni uchyate. That in the midst of unhappiness his mind is not shaken. In the midst of great happiness and excitement he is not exultant. He is free from attachment, fear and anger. Such is the sage of steady wisdom. He also says later on in the 12th chapter, Na rishyati na dveshati na sochati na kankshati shubha ashubha parityagi yomad bhakta samay priya. He says that he neither excessively loves somebody nor does he hate somebody. He neither hankers, neither he laments. He neither considers something auspicious nor he considers something inauspicious because he sees everything as coming from God. That is a sign of my devotee who is fixed in the absolute truth. These are his characteristics. Then he says, how does he behave? His behavior is also described by Lord Krishna. He says that no matter what position in life you've put him, no matter in what circumstances you put him, he will always be engaged in worshipping God. You put him in jail, you put him in solitary confinement, you put him in a city surrounded by hundreds and thousands of people. All the time his occupation will be only one, worshipping God. Whether he's in the Himalayas or whether he's in the prison, whether he's in hospital or whether he's in office, his activity will constantly be remembering, thinking and worshipping God. These are his activities. That is how you can see his activities. Then Arjuna asks him the final question. That Krishna, how can I be like him? It's a question you should also ask. How can you be like him? How can you in turn, in time, become a spiritual master? And that is revealed by Krishna. He says, Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityatan brahma bhuya kalpate. When you are also engaged in worshipping and serving God through Bhakti Yoga without any interruption whatsoever, uninterruptedly you are serving God in devotion in Bhakti Yoga, then you shall also be simultaneously situated on that platform which is known as Brahma Bhut. And Brahma Bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. And when you are situated on that platform, then you will understand what real bhakti is. Then you will understand what real love of God is. When you are engaged in performing activities of Bhakti Yoga without any interruption, then you will attain the platform of Brahma Bhut and then you will understand Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. Then you will know what is real Bhakti. So these are the characteristics of Guru. That he must come in one of the 4 Sampradayas. that he must be Brahmanishtam. How do you recognize him? By the fact that he is unaffected by the miseries of the world, and by the fact that he is always engaged in worshipping God without interruption, no matter what circumstances he is placed in. And by following in his footsteps, you also can become spiritually realized. That is the test of Guru. We say, Sansara dava nalalida loka, tranaya karunya ghananatvam. That actually what happens in everybody's life, without asking for it, some problem comes up. There is nobody in this room in whose life a problem has not come up and will not come up in the future. Because this is called a forest fire. What do you mean by forest fire? Nobody lights a match to start a forest fire. You don't have to take a cigarette lighter and start a forest fire. A forest fire starts by itself, without any known cause. So also in everybody's life, forest fires will always come. You have thought that, now life is going smoothly, now life is going wonderfully. And then without warning, some fire will come up somewhere. Either in personal life or professional life or family life or whatever it is. Some forest fire must come up in your life sometime, somehow, somewhere. As it has come up before, I am sure. And the test of Guru is that by following the instructions of your Guru, that forest fire will be put out. That is the final test. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. That when you follow the instructions of your spiritual master, what will happen is that the forest fire in your life will be put out. That is the test of spiritual master's instructions. That is the test of spiritual master. Because actually the spiritual master has no mercy of his own. The spiritual master has no mercy of his own. Just like the cloud has no water of its own. But what does the cloud do? The cloud carries the water from the ocean. And carrying the water from the ocean, the cloud showers that water down in the form of rain on the forest fire and puts it out. So also the spiritual master has no mercy of his own. But he simply functions like a cloud. He takes the mercy from the ocean of mercy. That is, he takes the mercy from God and he showers it down on the forest fire in your life, and he puts out that forest fire in your life. That is the final test of Guru. So if you want to know what is Guru, you have to follow his instructions. When you follow his instructions, you will find that the forest fires in your life are put out. That is the real test. Now that I have told you so much about what Guru is, I must also simultaneously tell you what Guru is not. Because if I don't tell you what Guru is not, then what will happen? Then you will make the same mistakes. It's better to know what you should not do also. Just like as a surgeon, we learn more from the mistakes of our teachers than from actually what they teach us. Because when they are doing something perfectly, you don't learn so much. When they make a mistake, you realize, aha, this is a mistake I should not make. Therefore, you learn from what you should not do more than what you should do. Therefore, I must tell you what are the characteristics of somebody who can never be a spiritual master. First and foremost, anyone who claims to be God, he can never be spiritual master. Anyone who claims to be God, he can never be spiritual master. Because throughout the Vedic scriptures it has been mentioned that you are not God. Therefore, if he is talking that he is God, if he is talking that you are God, and we are both God, and I have realized that I am God, and you follow me and you will also become God, and then we will both become God, then if they talk such nonsense philosophy, then you must immediately understand that he can never be your spiritual master. In fact, Srila Prabhupada used to say, anyone who says that he is God, G-O-D, is actually G-O-D in reverse. That is, he is D-O-G. Anyone who falsely claims to be God, he must be a dog. Because Vedic scriptures throughout say there is a difference between the living entity and the God. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. That although you are eternal, there is a supreme eternal. Although your consciousness is present, there is a supreme consciousness. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, he says, Mama Vaimso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Mana Shasta Indriyani Prakriti Karshati. That you are an eternally fragmented part and parcel of myself who is constantly struggling with your six senses that include your mind. So first disqualification for Guru is if he claims to be God. If he claims to be God, if he claims that you are also God, I am also God, you worship me as God and shortly you will also become God, that is all nonsense. Such a person should be rejected outright. Such a person can never be Guru. Second disqualification of Guru. A Guru does not perform cheap miracles and cheap magic tricks to attract disciples. His message, his instruction are powerful enough. He does not need to perform cheap miracles and magic tricks to attract people. Because in actual fact, one who performs cheap miracles and magic tricks can never be possessing bhakti. It has been said in the Vedic scriptures that bhukti siddhi mukti spriha yavat pishachi hridi vartate tavat bhakti sukhas yatra katham abhudaya bhavet. That there are three witches. What are these three witches? These three witches are bhukti. Bhukti means what? Enjoyment. The desire for enjoyment is known as bhukti. Siddhi. Siddhi means what? Spiritual powers. There are many siddhis. And there are 8 important siddhis. Ability to produce something from the air, ability to make yourself lighter than air, ability to be in 2 places at one time. These are all siddhis. So siddhi is a power that you acquire through spiritual endeavor, but it's a distraction from the actual path. For example, if you are going from Bombay to Pune, you may be distracted by one of the many nice hotels on the way. But if you stop by and relax and enjoy yourself at Ingleside Inn or Faria's Hotel, you will never reach Pune. So siddhi is like that. Siddhi is some byproduct of a spiritual path which should be neglected if you want the final product. Because if you indulge in the siddhi, then you do not progress on the path towards eventual bhakti. Therefore, bhukti, which is enjoyment, siddhi, which is spiritual powers, and mukti, which is the desire for liberation. In fact, it has been said that na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim kavitam, va jagdisha kamaye, mama janmani janmanishware bhavatat bhakti rahito kitvai. I don't even want liberation. I just want to be a servant birth after birth. It's only when you reject liberation that you get bhakti and get liberation simultaneously. As long as you are hungry for liberation, you can never achieve it. You have to give it up. You have to have desire for love of God, to serve God, then you get liberation automatically. So one who has got the desire for enjoyment, one who has got the desire for spiritual potencies or powers that can be demonstrated in the form of miracles, and also one who has got the desire for liberation can never have bhakti in the heart. So one who does not have bhakti in the heart, how can he give you? Therefore, performance of cheap miracle tricks are not characteristics of anyone who can be a spiritual master. He may be able to teach you how to get those spiritual tricks, or he may be able to teach you how to get siddhis, but that is not the goal of life. The goal of life is to get bhakti. And if you engage yourself in these tricks, then you can never progress to develop love of God. So disqualification of spiritual master, one is he does not claim to be God. 2, he does not demonstrate cheap magical tricks. In fact, many spiritual masters do possess these potencies, but they specifically do not reveal them. Because these are distractions, they actually distract even the disciple. The third disqualification is that the spiritual master is not seated there to give you material benediction. Sometimes people think that, I must have a guru, because when I get guru's blessings, my business will do well. When I get guru's blessings, my daughter will finally get married. When I get guru's blessings, my son will finally get a good job or his business will do well. So they want a spiritual master where they can get material benedictions. But a genuine guru does not waste his time giving material benedictions, because he does not interfere with the plan that God has for you. He knows Om Purnam Ada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Shishyate. He knows God is perfect and complete, and everything that he does is perfect and complete, and God has a plan for you, and whatever God does for you, that is perfect. Therefore, he doesn't interfere with the plan that God has for you. He simply helps you to understand God better. Just try to understand the whole thing. That you see a sannyasi, a man who has renounced the whole world. Why has he renounced the world? He has given up wife, he has given up family, children, business, money. For what purpose? Because he has considered them to be poisonous. Therefore, he wants to progress on the path to God. And now he has rejected these things as poison, but he is blessing you that you may have all these things. Just see the paradox in it. He has himself given up the material possessions of the world, considering them to be poison, but he is telling you, please take this poison, I bless you that you may have material boons. That means he has rejected poison, but he is trying to poison you. So what kind of person is that? One who willfully, knowingly poisons you, he can't be a guru, he must be a demon. This is the characteristics of demons. That they don't take poison, but they want other people to have that poison. This is the characteristic of a demon. Therefore, a spiritual master never gives material benedictions. He doesn't interfere with the plan of God. I remember my own spiritual master, Srila Bhaktipad. Once when he had come down to Bombay, there was one gentleman who had come for the first time who thought that, aha, now that I have met a saintly person, I must take his blessings for my business. So he told him, Maharaj, please give me blessings that my business will do well. Please give me blessings that my business will do well. And Bhaktipad kept on ignoring him. Because he is not interested in giving material boons, he is interested in helping you to understand God. But he kept on harassing him. And finally when he was going to his room, this fellow kept on following him on the stairs that, please Maharaj, give me a blessing, give me a blessing. So Bhaktipad turned to him and raised his hand like this. He said, from today, I give you this blessing. From today, your material life is finished. So this man was so shocked, he started choking. He was asking for a material boon and actually he got a blessing that from today your material life is finished. So a spiritual master never gives material boons, he never gives material benedictions. His actual desire is to help you to achieve love of God. He is not interested in helping you to change your karma. He is not interested in helping you to be further entangled in karma. He wants you to be free of karma. He wants you to be dependent on God. He wants you to understand God and surrender to Him. That is what he is there for. He is not there to entangle you further in the trap of karma. That is the position of a guru. In fact, it has been mentioned that if you know these disqualifications of guru, you are already progressing. You will be easily able to spot genuine guru. So the qualifications I have mentioned, and I have mentioned disqualification. The qualifications are that he comes in sampradaya, that he is fixed in the absolute truth. The disqualifications are that he does not claim to be God, neither does he claim that you are God. In addition, he does not demonstrate material cheap tricks. Neither in addition does he try to give you material benediction. He instead tries to help you re-establish contact with God. And the true test is that by following his instructions, the forest fires in your life will be put out. But how do you approach a spiritual master? You should also know how to approach a spiritual master. If you don't approach him correctly, you will never get the message. There is the example of a young gentleman, a young philosopher who went to meet a spiritual master. So when he went to meet him, he sat down with him and said, I would like to clarify some doubts that I have about God and about religion. So he said, certainly, do sit down. And both of them, they started discussing. And this philosopher, young boy who had come, he kept on arguing and discussing and arguing and discussing with him. Finally, the spiritual master said, fine, now wait, now we'll have some hot milk. So he went inside and he brought a jug with hot milk and gave him a cup. So he started pouring hot milk into his cup. And very soon what happened, he didn't stop pouring that hot milk. So that hot milk, it overflowed from the cup and that boiling, scalding milk fell on the lap of that boy. So this man jumped up and he jumped up with pain and anger and he said, what are you doing? What are you doing? Can't you see my cup is full? Can't you see my cup is full? So he says, my dear friend, that I've been trying to tell you for the last 3 hours. Your cup is full, and when you come to me with a full cup, you can no longer accept anything more. So you should never approach a spiritual master with a full cup. You should approach him with an empty cup. You should be willing to learn. If you are trying to teach somebody something, then you will never learn anything. If you approach with an empty cup with the desire to learn and to accept, then only you can learn. So you should learn with humility. You should learn with an empty cup. In fact, so much humility is required in approaching a spiritual master. It has been said that you should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant. So people say, it's like a servant? I should serve a spiritual master like a menial servant? It sounds so horrible that you want to run away when you hear this. But actually that is the instruction. Because what do we mean by becoming servant of the spiritual master? Who is spiritual master? Once I asked my Guru, Srila Bhaktipad, what is the definition of Guru? He said a guru is not God. A guru is like your glasses. If you have glasses and you take your glasses off, you can't see clearly. But if you put your glasses on, you can see more clearly. That is the position with Guru. He himself is so transparent that although he is not God, he helps you to see God clearly. That is the position of spiritual master, that you can see transparently through him, you can see God. The Guru is actually a window into the spiritual world. Although he is not God, you can see God through him. Therefore, when you serve him as a humble menial servant, you are actually directly serving God. This is the correct philosophical understanding. And you have a choice. Either you should become servant of God, or you become servant of your tongue, your belly and your genitals. You have to be servant anyway. The position of the living entity is to be servant. Either you serve material nature by serving your tongue, your belly and your genitals, or you become servant of God by becoming servant of God realized spiritual master. And then you will be free of the enslavement of your sense organs. You will be free of the enslavement of material nature. That is what you should be doing. Actually, in the spiritual world, what is lowest here is highest there, and what is highest there is lowest over here. For example, in the material world, sex life is the highest pleasure, but in the spiritual world, it's the lowest. So also in the material world, to be servant is the lowest thing, but in the spiritual world, to be servant is the highest. This is the way it is. So therefore, we should learn to serve the spiritual master as a humble servant. But in actual fact, it's very, very difficult for us to do so. Because right from infancy, we are programmed not to be servant, but we are programmed to be master. You see a little small child, even before he starts going to school, he always wants to be lord and master. He tries to control his mother, he tries to control his father. If he cannot control the mother and father, what will he do? He will control the grandfather and grandmother. He wants to dominate, he wants to control somebody, he wants to be master of somebody. He cannot have the position of being controlled, he cannot allow himself to serve somebody. He wants to be boss, he wants to be big man. And actually we encourage our children in the same way. We encourage our children to be masters, not servants. We encourage our children to be leaders and not followers. And we actually instill in their minds and their hearts the desire to dominate. I remember a couple of years ago, I had to get my son admitted to school. And to get admission in a good school in Bombay is very difficult, I tell you. You have to put your son through so many tests in so many schools. Not only does the son have to appear for so many examinations, but the parents also have to go to the similar examinations. For example, my wife and me had to undergo so many interviews, including a psychological test to find out whether we were suitable parents for a student of their school. In fact, one couple, when they had to fill up the form to apply for admission to a school, they were given a form on where there was a question that is your child a leader or is your child a follower? So the husband and wife, they thought about it and finally they decided that why not put down the truth. So they wrote down that my child is a follower. So they got a reply from the school. Congratulations, your child has been admitted in a class with 99 leaders and 1 follower. Because every parent wants their child to be a leader. Every parent wants their child to be pushed ahead. Nobody wants their child to be a follower. Therefore, from infancy, from childhood, we are forced to become leaders. Therefore, our very nature rebels against the idea of following. Our very nature rebels against the idea of becoming servant or serving. And this goes on not only in infancy and childhood, but even till the last days of your life. Even till the last days of your life. In fact, some of you may have heard about the great Emperor Aurangzeb. The great Emperor Aurangzeb was known for his cruelty. Incidentally, I might also tell you that when I was born, my parents wanted to call me Aurangzeb. Because my parents had their honeymoon in Aurangabad. So they decided that if they have a boy, they will call him Aurangzeb. If they have a girl, they'll call her Ajanta. So actually my younger sister, she is called Ajanta. So they wanted to call me Aurangzeb. So when they wanted to call me Aurangzeb, everybody said, what? You want to give your son the name of Aurangzeb, that of a Muslim? So my father said, okay, we can call him Aurang. So he said, no, don't do that, because calling him Aurang will not solve the problem. He will immediately understand as he grows up that he is actually named after Aurangzeb. So he said, so what? What's wrong with Aurangzeb? My father said, Aurangzeb, he was a great emperor. Not only he was a great emperor, but he was also a very religious person. Aurangzeb was a very religious person. So what's wrong? My son can be called after Aurangzeb. So then his aunt told him that, yes, your son will learn that he is Aurangzeb and he'll model himself after him, and you think it's a great idea. But don't forget what Aurangzeb did to his father. Aurangzeb imprisoned Shah Jahan. He took over the kingdom. He imprisoned Shah Jahan and blinded him. So after she told him that, they decided to change my name. Therefore, I am not called Aurangzeb today. But in fact, that is precisely what they did, what Aurangzeb did. Aurangzeb, he pulled his father off the throne, he blinded him and imprisoned him. This was the cruelty of Aurangzeb. And Shah Jahan, in the last years of his life, blinded, imprisoned, deprived of his throne, he wrote a very humble letter to his son. He told him that, my dear son, I am now blind by your grace. I am also imprisoned and I have been deprived of my kingdom. But in the last few years of my life that I have left, let me do something useful. I am an Arabic and I am a Persian scholar. So you send me at least 3 or 4 students whom I can teach. And by teaching them Arabic and Aurangzeb's admirers were shocked at this cruelty. They said, you not only removed your father from the throne, you blinded him, you imprisoned him. Now he wants to do a little bit of good in the world, that also you are denying him. So Aurangzeb looked at them and said, aha, you think that my father Shah Jahan, he wants to do something good? You don't understand the psychology of my father. My father was Emperor of India and I have removed him from the position of Emperor of India. But mentally he still wants to be Emperor. If he can't be Emperor of India, he wants to be Emperor of 4 students. That is his desire. He still wants to lord it over, he still wants to be Lord and Master, he wants to be King, he wants to be Emperor of 4 students if he can't be Emperor of India. Therefore, knowing and understanding his mentality, I have refused this request. So right from infancy, right from childhood, right until the last days of your life, even if you lose the throne of Emperor of India, that desire to dominate, that desire to control, that desire to become master, that desire never ever leaves you. Never. Therefore, it has been said in the Vedic scriptures, it has been said that in fact you can destroy illusion by reading the scriptures. You can destroy envy by controlling your senses. But if you want to conquer pride, then you must accept a spiritual master. That you can destroy illusion by reading scripture. You can also destroy envy by conquering your senses. But if you want to conquer your pride, you have to accept a spiritual master. And conquering pride is the first step in spiritual life. Therefore, it is said that unless you accept spiritual master, your spiritual life has not really begun. It has been said, amanitvam adambitvam. That first of all, you become humble, you lose your arrogance. That can be done only when you serve a spiritual master. Humility is a very, very important virtue. I remember when I was in medical college, we had a gynecology and obstetrics professor who was a very saintly man. And he used to give lectures on gynecology and obstetrics. So he was teaching us a difference between normal birth and abnormal birth. Now normal birth, as we all know, is a very natural process. You don't require to do anything. The baby comes out very simply without any assistance. So therefore the doctors are taught that you should be watchful expectancy and masterful in activity. Just cross your hands and stand there looking very intelligent, the baby will come out by itself and you will get all the tali. So that is normal birth. But you also have abnormal birth. And what is abnormal birth? In abnormal birth, the child gets stuck in the birth passage. The child gets stuck in the birth passage, thereby endangering the life of the child and the life of the mother. So he taught us all about normal and abnormal birth. And at the end of all the series of lectures, he asked us, can anyone tell me the one difference between normal and abnormal birth? Nobody was able to tell him properly. So he said, just see, the child is so big. The child is so big, but although the child is so big, it comes out so smoothly through the normal birth passage. Why does it come out so smoothly through the normal birth passage? Because it enters the birth passage by presenting the smallest part of its circumference. That means the baby comes upside down. The baby is upside down in the abdomen of the woman. And when it comes into the birth passage, what happens is that it bends its head like this. It flexes its head with the chin on the chest, so that the top of the head, which is the narrowest part of the anatomy, presents over there. And by presenting this narrow part of the anatomy, it enters into the birth passage and comes out very easily. That is normal birth. In abnormal birth, what happens? In abnormal birth, he said, just see, the child who should be flexing his head on his chest, he starts raising his head. And because he starts raising his head, a larger diameter presents. Therefore, it gets stuck in the birth passage. Therefore, it doesn't come out smoothly. Therefore, normal passage does not occur. So he said, remember this lesson in life, not only material life, but also in spiritual life. If you learn to keep your head flexed on your chest, if you learn to be humble, if you learn to flex your head, if you learn to keep your chin on your chest, you will go not only through material life, but also spiritual life with great ease. You will have normal birth into the spiritual world. That is what will happen to you. But if you try to be proud, if you try to extend your head, then you will meet with arrest of birth, arrest of labor. And therefore you will find it tough going for you. But the fact is that all of us have this tendency to raise our head off our chest. Therefore we need a skillful obstetrician who can use a forceps to forcibly flex the head. Or we need a skillful obstetrician who can actually perform a cesarean section and pull us out. That is a guru. The guru is one whose basic function is to forcibly flex our head on our chest, to make us humble and pull us through this material world eventually into the spiritual realm. That is the function of guru. So the function of guru is to help you acquire humility. This is the main reason why we accept guru. But still it is very difficult for somebody who wants to be Lord and Master to accept guru. There is a very interesting story that once upon a time there was a big strong tiger in the jungle, and he wanted to be known by everybody as Lord and Master of the jungle. So while strolling in the forest, he came across a little small rabbit. So he caught that rabbit in his paws, and he pushed that rabbit's nose into the dirt. And after rubbing its nose in the dirt, he banged it 2-3 times on the back of the head. And when the rabbit was half unconscious, he shouted in the rabbit's ear, "Who is Lord and Master of this jungle?" The poor rabbit, who was half unconscious, just squeaked out, You, sir, you are the Lord and Master of the jungle." And the tiger felt very happy. He said, I am Lord and Master of the jungle, and let the rabbit run away. And he went ahead a little further, and he saw a small, mangy looking jackal slinking along. So this huge tiger, he went up to the jackal, and he walloped the jackal on both sides of the head with his paw. And he, jumping on the jackal, pushing its nose into the dirt, he shouted into the jackal's ear, "Who's Lord and Master of this jungle?" And the poor jackal, who was so stunned and half unconscious, he also squeaked out, "You, sir, you are the Lord and Master of the jungle." The tiger felt, aha, I am Lord and Master of the jungle. He was even more happy. And he let the jackal stroll along. And he went through the forest with his chest puffed out. And in the clearing, he saw a gigantic elephant grazing over there. So when he saw a gigantic elephant grazing in the clearing, this tiger went behind that elephant and he gave that elephant one kick on the backside with its paw. And then he said, "Who's Lord and Master of the jungle?" Of course, the elephant never noticed what the tiger had done. And very slowly, as if some mosquito had bothered it, the elephant gradually turned round. And then it saw the tiny little tiger in front of it. It took its trunk, it wrapped the trunk all around the tiger, and it flung it about 40-50 feet in the air. And when the tiger came smashing down, he threw it a half a dozen more times. And then finally, he used his tusks to skewer the entire tiger. He drove his tusks entirely through the body of the tiger and he pulled his tusks out. And jumping into the air, the huge elephant jumped on the back of the tiger until the tiger was pounded at least 4 feet into the ground. And after the tiger was so demolished, the elephant went back to grazing. The tiger lay there for a long time. And slowly the tiger opened its eyes, and seeing that the elephant was far away, it crawled out of the pit in what horrible condition it had found itself. And dragging itself to the end of the clearing, it looked back and said to the elephant, "Okay, okay, if you don't know the answer, you don't have to get so angry." So that is the position of the living entity. The living entity is like the tiger. He always imagines that he is Lord and Master of the jungle. And he goes through life imagining that I am doing this, I am doing that, I am doing this, I am doing that, I am the Lord and Master of the jungle. And who's the elephant? The elephant is material nature. God has designed the material nature as the elephant. And the material nature will jump on these tigers as it has jumped on so many tigers before. And it will crush and it will pound them to the earth. And still they will say, I am still Lord and Master. They just don't know the answer, that's all. This is the nature of human beings. They always want to be Lord and Master. When they have learnt a bad lesson, they still want to persist on the path that they have. This is the position of the living entity. That he always struggles to be Lord and Master, and God uses material nature to humble him. In fact, what is spiritual master? Spiritual master can be compared to a powerful electromagnet. What do I mean by an electromagnet? An electromagnet is an ordinary piece of metal. But although it's an ordinary piece of metal, it has got an electric current running around it in the form of a wire. And as long as the electric current flows around the piece of metal, it becomes a very powerful magnet which attracts all other iron particles around and magnetizes them in turn. So the spiritual master is an iron particle like you and me. The only difference is that because he is constantly conscious of God, because he is in constant Krishna consciousness, because that current of God consciousness is constantly flowing around him, he functions as a powerful magnet and he attracts everybody towards him. But you may think that, but I have met so many spiritual masters and I have not been attracted towards them. If the Guru is such a powerful electric magnet, why am I not attracted towards him? The answer is very simple. That which iron particles are not attracted towards the magnet? Those iron particles which are covered by rust. And because we have been in the material world from time immemorial, because we've been covered by moisture and exposed to air, we have all rusted. On our heart we have the rust of material desire. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Dhumen avriyate vanir, just like the smoke is covered by fire. Yatha adarsho malena cha, just like the mirror is covered by dust. Yatha alben avrito garbhas, tatha tenedam avritam. That is the way you are covered up. That's how we are all covered by rust. Just like the fire is covered by smoke, just like the mirror is covered by dust, just like the embryo is covered by the womb, just like the child is covered by the womb, so also we are also covered by rust. Therefore, we are not attracted to him. Now, how to get rid of that rust? How are we to get rid of that rust? Because unless we get rid of that rust, we cannot actually be attracted to a spiritual master. To remove that rust, there is a technique, there is a method. Of course, nowadays you get some rust solvents like Rust-Oleum. You just put the rust on the rusty object and the rust dissolves and goes away. So also in spiritual life, there is a rust solvent which removes all the rust, all the material desire from your heart. And what is that rust remover? It has been said in the Brihad Naradiya Puran. Harer Nam eva kevalam. Kalau nasti eva gatir anyatha. That there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way to remove the rust from your heart other than by chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name. So by chanting the holy name of the Lord, what happens? The rust that is on our heart is removed and we can feel the attraction of the spiritual master. So actually before we meet spiritual master, what happens? we have to actually be prepared for spiritual master. Otherwise we meet so many characters. Because God is seated in our heart and He is fulfilling our desire. If you have a desire for a cheater, He will send you a cheater. If you have a desire to have illicit sex life and be spiritual, He will send you such a person who will tell you that you can have unlimited sex life and you can still be spiritual. Such people are also there in the world. So God will send you such people because your heart is unclean. But if you have cleaned your heart, if your heart has become clean, He will send you the genuine person. Actually, everybody gets the spiritual master he deserves. If your heart is pure, you will get a pure spiritual master. If your desire is pure, you will get a pure spiritual master. If your desire is impure, you will get an impure spiritual master. The other day I was traveling in Bandra. So I saw a sign over there. It said, Guru Kripa Deshi Liquor Bar. So I was amazed. Guru Kripa Deshi Liquor Bar. But what kind of guru is this who gives the kripa that you have a Deshi liquor bar? So, if your heart is unclean, if your desire, your basic desire is unclean, you get such a guru. Because God is fulfilling whatever desire is in your heart. You have a desire for such a guru, He will send you such a guru. But if you have a pure desire for spiritual life, He will send you a person who will give you only spiritual life. If you have a desire for a guru who will give you material benediction, you will get such a guru. He will give you a lot of material benediction. If you have a desire for somebody who will tell you that you are God, then you will get such a guru who will tell you are God, I am God, we are all God. But if you have a pure desire to re-establish your relationship with God, between the supreme eternal and the infinitesimal eternal, between the infinite and the infinitesimal, if you want to re-establish that contact of bhakti, if you want to re-establish that contact of bhakti and you have the genuine pure desire, God will send you that pure guru. All you have to do is to chant the holy name. And it has been said that, it has been said in the Shikshashtakam that simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, the dust from the mirror of your heart is clean. Cheto darpana marjanam bhavamaha davagni nirvapanam. That by chanting God's name, all the dust from your heart will be removed. You will get a pure desire for a genuine guru. And then you don't have to look for guru. No, you don't have to look for guru. Guru will come to you. Just take the example of my spiritual master. He wanted guru. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada came all the way from India to America. And he came on the boat Jaladut. But my spiritual master was so keen to find guru that he got on the same boat and he came back to India. Just see. This one boat brings the spiritual master to America. The spiritual master gets off the boat and the disciple in search of the spiritual master gets on the same boat and comes to India. And after spending 2 years looking for guru here, he goes back. And when he goes back, he finds that the guru is on the same street, next street, within walking distance of him. So actually Krishna provides the guru for you. You don't have to look for him. It has been said that by the mercy of Krishna you get guru, and by the mercy of guru you get Krishna. All you have to do is you have to embark on the spiritual path, trust in God and chant His holy name and purify your heart. But sometimes it's very difficult for some people to accept this path. I remember a nice cartoon which amused Srila Prabhupada a lot. In this cartoon there was one person who was telling his friend, chant, 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 chant. And what was the friend saying? Can't, 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 can't. So one was saying chant, 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 chant. The other was saying can't, 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 can't. So what do? If somebody can't chant, then how is he going to purify his heart? How is he going to find genuine guru? There are two ways of removing rust. As I told you, the problem is rust. So if you have a rusty iron object, there are two ways of removing rust. One is, of course, you put a rust solvent and it dissolves off. That's a painless way of removing rust. But there's yet another way of removing rust, and that is, you take the rusty iron object, hold it in your hand, and take a big hammer and you bang away at that object. What will happen? All the rust will flake off. So if somebody is not able to chant or doesn't want to chant, then material nature, just like the elephant who jumped on the tiger, will jump on that person again and again and again, and finally will bang him again and again and again, and with every bang some more rust will come off, until eventually he is free of rust and is attracted to a genuine spiritual master. But we should not be so foolish, we should not be so idiotic. We should immediately take to this process, and by chanting the holy name of God, by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, we should remove the rust from our heart, and by purifying our heart and our intentions, depend on Krishna to find us a genuine Guru who will save us from this miserable material world and take us back to Godhead. So now I'll just have a short slideshow, and then any question answer the whole course that are there will be covered. What's happened? There's some problem. Just check it out. Adjust the focus. Okay. Okay, can you have the lights off? So this is Global 2000. This is Kali Yuga. It actually said Kaler Dosha Nidhe Rajan, that Kali Yuga is an ocean of fault. And wherever we look in Kali Yuga, we find that there is quarrel, misfortune, unhappiness, and violence. Where actually man has become a faceless creature. He doesn't know who he is, he doesn't know where he's come from, he doesn't know where he's going, and he doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing over here. This is the present situation of human beings in Kali Yuga. And they're completely bewildered by so many philosophies. There are so many philosophies, so many philosophers, and a bewildering array of solutions to the human problem. But all solutions can be solved when we start with the truth. That is, we have to start with the understanding that we are not this body. We have to understand that we are spirit soul, and just like we move from infancy to a new body in childhood, to that of a youth, to that of a man, finally in old age we change our bodies again, and at the point of death we should change our bodies and take on a new one. So we should first of all try to understand who we are. We should understand that this physical world, this world of flesh, is a place of misery. That true beauty lies not in this world, but in the spiritual world. This is the example of a beautiful woman who was threatened by a handsome prince who wanted to have sex with her. So she said, "Come and see me after 7 days." And 7 days later, when the prince came, he found that she was a shriveled old hag, because she had taken emetics, diuretics and laxatives, and she had vomited, passed urine and passed stool until she had become completely dehydrated. And when he asked her where her beauty had gone, she showed him these pots which contained all the vomit, the stool and the urine, and she said, "All my beauty lies in this." And in this world, we also, like this foolish prince, we imagine that all beauty lies in this bag of, or this bundle of bones, flesh, pus, urine and bile. And therefore, we pursue a life based on sense pleasures. Dhyayate vishayan pumsa sangaste supajayate sangat sanjayate kama kama krodha bhajayate krodhat bhavati sammo sammo smriti vibhrama smriti brahmashat buddhi nasho buddhi nashat pranashyati. That it starts with a thought, it leads to attachment, that leads to lust and love. That is frustrated, leading to anger. Anger leads to loss of memory and discrimination, finally leading to our downfall. And people live like the camel. The camel eats thorns, not realizing that the taste that he's having in the mouth is not that of the thorns, but that of his own blood. The thorns cut up his mouth, he tastes his own blood and thinks he's enjoying. And eventually his whole mouth gets ulcerated. So also we seek pleasures of the world, not realizing that in seeking pleasures of the world, in actual fact, we are like this foolish camel who eats thorns. We are unprepared for death. Because like this man in 1925, attached to his dog, grows up, becomes a businessman. Finally, when he retires, he's still lost in thoughts of his childhood dog, his dog in childhood. And finally dies thinking of his dog and comes back as a dog. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajete ante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sadatad bhava bhavita. That whatever you think of at the time of death, that you shall obtain. So nobody is aware of that. Therefore they come back in all different forms. Nobody knows about God. Nobody knows about the spiritual world. Nobody knows that God in fact is seated even in our own hearts. It has been said, Dva suparna sayuja sakhaya samanam vriksha parisha swajati tayor anya pipalam swadvatya anashnan tayor abhichikasati. There are two birds seated in the tree. You, the Jivatma, are tasting the fruits of the world. Some are bitter, some are sweet, some are tasteless. But until you turn your face to the bird beside you, until you turn your face to God, you will never know peace. You imagine you are the doer of all activities. But in actual fact, you do nothing. It's God who does everything. It has been said, Prakriti kriyamanani guna karmani sarvasya ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. That you can see this little baby kangaroo. This baby kangaroo is seated in the pouch of the mother kangaroo. And when the mother jumps, runs, the baby kangaroo thinks he is doing everything. So also, actually everything is being done by God through material nature. But the foolish living entity, he imagines that he is doing everything. That is the function, that is the position of every living entity. So to realize a spiritual identity, people leave the world, they leave society, they go to the Himalayas, they go into the forest without understanding the human values of life. Because are you a human being because you can build a dam? No, sir. You can see here in this picture, even beavers build dams. In fact, you are here to actually understand about God. And you cannot understand about God unless you accept a teacher. As I pointed out, you cannot even learn to breathe unless you have a proper teacher. Here is a book on pranayam, breathing for long life and good health. So if you want to learn to breathe also, you must have a teacher. Yeah, put it on. I thought the slideshow was checked out. Where is Rishabh? Sorry, just call Rishabh then. Got stuck? Hold on. There's so much trouble, we'll skip the slide, forget it.
Is it?
Yeah, skip the slide, forget it.
Yeah, try.
So in fact, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshana. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. And since ancient times, this has been the path. By approaching a realized soul, a God-realized soul, everybody has learned the truth. And this is because these God-realized souls have heard in disciplic succession from an unbroken chain of spiritual masters who have heard from God Himself. This is Hayagriva incarnation, giving the knowledge to Brahma. So eventually, Krishna is the source of all knowledge. And all knowledge comes from Him through an unbroken chain of self-realized spiritual masters. You will see that even Krishna accepted spiritual master. You will see that even Ram accepted spiritual master. Krishna accepted Sandipani Muni and Ram accepted Vashisht. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, incarnation of God, he also accepted spiritual master. He accepted Ishvara Puri. But unfortunately, people who are under the modes of material nature, who are overcome by Sattva Gun, Rajagun, Tamagun, they have great difficulty in understanding God. Because when you are under the modes of material nature, you can be cheated. You can meet a fake guru, or rather you can meet a fake who is claiming to be guru. So he may hold a wonderful mask up in front of you, but when that mask is taken out, you will find a first class rascal. You will find the first class cheater behind the mask. And you will find gurus like this who will sell you mantras. They will tell you, pay me so much, I will give you the mantra. You just follow me and you will become God. These are the fake gurus that you will come across. They will allow you, and in fact they will even encourage you. What's wrong with taking drugs? One famous so-called spiritual master has said, the drugs help to relieve you of tension. Therefore, you should be allowed to take drugs like marijuana. This is a famous so-called spiritual teacher has made this remark. They will encourage you to have illicit sex. In fact, they themselves may be reading Playboy and surrounded by half a dozen beautiful women. Such will be the fakes that you will come across. They will encourage you in your path of sense gratification. And they will mislead you. And where will you land up if you follow rascals like this? Where do you think you will land up if you follow rascals like this? Here you have, this is happening all over the world. For example, this is a picture from the recent Time magazine, that Christians today are accepting homosexuals as priests. That in the United States of America, even in the Church of England, you have Protestants and Catholics willingly accepting priests who are not only not celibate, but these priests are having unnatural sexual activity. In fact, the Time magazine said that there are some reports of almost 60% of these priests who are supposed to be celibate, but they are actually confessed that they are homosexuals. So this is an article from Time magazine and you would be well to read that. Because these are the kind of rascals that you have in Kali Yuga. These are the cheaters that you have in Kali Yuga. And if you follow spiritual, so-called spiritual leaders like this, where do you think that you will end up? Take a good look. If you follow a fake, if you follow a cheater, this is the fate. You land up in the dustbin of life. Because it has been said that na te vidu swartha gatimi Vishnu durashaya hi bair arthamanina andha yatha andhe rupaniyamanas te api isha tantriyam uru damni baddha. That they don't know that the goal of life is to reach Vishnu or Krishna, God. And instead they accept a guru who teaches them the opposite. Therefore, like one blind man leading another blind man, they all get bound by the ropes of karma. What happens when one blind man leads another? See this slide. These are all blind men leading each other. And what happens when one man is going into the ditch? All of them go into the ditch. That is the fate of those who follow cheaters. Therefore, Krishna says, Evam parampara praptam imam rajarishyo vidu. If you want to learn this science of self-realization, hear it in disciplic succession. Just like I revealed this knowledge to Vivashwan, the sun god, who revealed it to Ikshvaku, Ikshvaku revealed it to his son Manu. You should hear it in disciplic succession. Because besides following the holy scriptures in your conscience, you have to associate with saintly persons. You have to follow the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master, who comes in an unbroken chain of self-realized spiritual masters coming from God Himself. Because only He can impart this knowledge to the sincere seeker. So there are 4 sampradayas, as I pointed out. This you are hearing is from the Brahma Sampradaya. Then you have the Rudra Sampradaya, like the Vallabhacharya Sampradaya. You have the Sri Sampradaya, where knowledge comes from Sri Lakshmi, or the Ramanuja Sampradaya. You have the Kaumara Sampradaya, where Vishnu reveals his knowledge to the 4 Kaumara brothers through Nimbarkacharya. So you are hearing today through the Brahma Sampradaya, Tene Brahma Hridaya, where Brahma has revealed his knowledge to Narad Muni. And Narad Muni in turn, who travels all over the universe, has revealed his knowledge to Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva has revealed this knowledge. This is a picture of Vyasadeva, who has revealed his knowledge through Madhvacharya and has come in disciplic succession through Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, who is the spiritual master of A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. And it has come down through him in disciplic succession. You can see here Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj giving the beads of initiation to Prabhupada, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. And in turn from A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, you have heard it through his foremost disciple Kirtananand Swami Bhaktipad, who is my spiritual master. In fact, it has been said that if you have the right spiritual master, even if you are a sadist, you can become a saint. This is the example of the hunter Nigari, who used to half kill animals by shooting them and leave them to be tortured to death. But when he met Narad Muni and Narad Muni enlightened him, made him chant the holy name and eat prasadam, he became so purified that when Narad Muni came back, he was not willing to harm an ant. He was trying to remove ants harmlessly from the path before he offered his respects. So from a sadist you can become a saint. That is the power of a spiritual master. And you see A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, who went at the height of Kali Yuga to the United States of America, where everybody eats meat, where intoxication is accepted, where illicit sex is accepted, where gambling is accepted. And he took ordinary people from the streets like these and he made them into people like this. He made them into devotees of God. He took ordinary people like this and he converted them into Vaishnavas. He made them dedicate their lives to the glorification of God. Many of these beautiful paintings have been painted by this famous artist who dedicated his life to God. And in fact, he revealed the unadulterated message of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And he gave the path that we should follow. That we have an option of attachment, lust, anger, greed, ignorance, envy going towards hell, or we can accept a spiritual master, study the Vedas, control our senses, acquire spiritual knowledge and go back to Godhead. So that choice is there before us. And it's up to us now what we want to do. But the path is open. If you want to begin spiritual life, you must chant the holy name, purify your heart, and begin spiritual life by accepting a spiritual master. Can we have the lights, please? So we have 5 or 10 minutes. If anyone wants to ask any questions, now he can ask questions about any lecture throughout the course. It means throughout the 7 days, any questions that have remained unanswered may be asked now. Anybody has any questions? Yes?
You can have one guru or you can have more than one guru, following all these things which you have said.
His question is, can you have one guru or can you have many gurus? Actually, there are many gurus. You have the Pad Pradarshak Guru. What is Pad Pradarshak Guru? Pad Pradarshak Guru means the guru who shows you the path. Like for example, somebody may have given you a copy of Bhagavad Gita, or somebody may have directed you to a lecture on Krishna consciousness, or somebody may have directed you to a temple. He is a Pad Pradarshak Guru. You also have Shiksha Guru. That means you have somebody who gives you this knowledge. That means he may be giving you knowledge in the form of lecture or in the form of any form of instruction he is giving you. That is Shiksha Guru. And then you have Diksha Guru. Diksha Guru is a self-realized soul who's realized God, who's in communion with God, who's actually giving you inspiration because he is the finished product of the process. So there are many gurus. But even in Diksha Guru, I remember I asked my spiritual master, I said, what is the meaning of Guru? So my spiritual master said, whoever you see Krishna through most clearly, that is Guru. So I said, fine. Now I am seeing Krishna most clearly through you. So I may accept you as Guru, I may take Diksha from you. Then tomorrow I may meet somebody else through whom I can see Krishna better. Then what? Am I stuck with you? So he started laughing. He says the idea is not to connect you with any particular person. The idea is to connect you with God. So whoever you can see Krishna more clearly through, you should follow that person. If today you see Krishna most clearly through me, you follow me. If tomorrow you see Krishna more clearly through somebody else, then by all means follow him with my blessings. Because any genuine guru wants to help you to re-establish contact with God. He is not interested in tying you or binding you down to himself. Therefore, we must all be practical. We must see from where we get the maximum knowledge of God, from where we can see God the best, and that is the path that we should follow. Any other questions? No other questions?
Any very inspiring story about Ramakrishna Paramahansa and Swami in this connection?
See, I have already told you the difference between true and false gurus. So you should examine everybody in the light of what I have said. Any other questions?
We have some one Guru mantra.
I never said that. I never said that. See, it has been said, Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti Tatratpita Niyamite Smaranena Kala Etadrashi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaivam Indrisham Ihajani Nanuraga. That, oh God, you have hundreds and thousands and millions of names. And you have invested your transcendental potencies in every one of these names. But the only misfortune is I have attraction to none of them. That is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prays. So God's potency is in every one of his names, provided it's a bona fide name of God, not a demigod. You cannot chant the name of a demigod and get the benefit by chanting the name of God. If you are chanting the name of God, chant the name of God. Therefore, it doesn't matter what name of God provides a genuine name of God, whether it's Krishna or whether it's Ram or whether it's Vaman Dev. It doesn't matter, you chant the name of God. It may be Allah, it may be Jehovah, it may be Yahweh. Chant that name of God. You will get that benefit by chanting God's name, because all God's names are absolute. Therefore, by chanting any one of God's names, you can get that benefit. So sometimes people ask me that, oh, we are chanting God's name in a different mantra. Can I do that? I said, fine, do that. But be practical. You chant as many names of God as you can and see which one gives you the best benefit. Therefore, if you are chanting a particular mantra, chant Hare Krishna along with it, and then you see. If you find your original mantra more suitable for you, you chant your original mantra, no problem. If you find the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra more suitable, then you can chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Or you can chant them both, or you can chant half a dozen mantras, but chant the name of God. That's all that I ask you. Any other question? Yes?
Can you tell me what is Brahma Muhurta and what is the importance of that?
See, Brahma Muhurt is a specific time in the early morning, 2 hours before sunrise. So between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock is considered to be Brahma Muhurt. That is the time when the rest of the world is sleeping and the sage is awake. It has been said that what is night for all beings is day for the self-realized soul. What is day for all beings is night for the self-realized soul. Therefore, night life begins in Bombay at what time? Night life begins in Bombay at 8 o'clock. That is the time the sage goes to sleep. And night life ends at one time, 4 o'clock. People come from their Christmas parties, New Year parties, cocktail parties at 4 o'clock. That is the time the sage gets up. That is known as Brahma Muhurt. Because when the rest of the world is sleeping and it's just before sunrise, when you have got up and your mind is absolutely still like the water on a pond, undisturbed pond, then you can chant God's names most effectively. you can perform any spiritual practice most effectively in Brahma Muhurt. So between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock is the best recommended time. But don't worry if you can't do that just now. You chant God's name anytime. Otherwise you'll say, Brahma Muhurt, I can't get up, so I have stopped chanting God's name. People, your mind is always looking for an excuse. So you will say, I can't get up at 4 o'clock, therefore I can't chant God's name. Doesn't matter. Day or night, awake or asleep, you chant God's name. Eventually, of course, the idea is that you should be able to get up at Brahma Muhurt and chant God's name. Any other questions?
Krishna existed, as you told in the previous lecture.
Krishna is existing.
He took a birth that time.
When he appeared on this earth. Yes.
Then how the death took place?
So his question is, how did Krishna leave this world? Actually, Krishna's appearance and disappearance are transcendental. It has been said that Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam Evam Yo Veti Tattvata Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mameti So Arjuna. That if you want to understand the appearance of Krishna, his activities and his disappearance, and when you understand them to be transcendental, then only when you leave this body you will not come back again. This is the instruction. But when you watch Krishna's life, it appears to be like everybody else's. Like he appears to be born to parents like everybody else. But in actual fact, he is not born like everybody else. He appears in the form of a four-handed Vishnu. And then he takes the form of a child. Like a young boy will frolic with young girls at night. Of course, now in Bombay you have the same Dandiya Ras, which has caused misfortune and unhappiness to so many people. But like that you think that, oh, Krishna frolics with the gopis at night. But Krishna is 8 years old when he frolics with the gopis. He is pre-pubertal, there is no sex life in that at all. So that activity appears like a normal activity, yet it is different. So also when Krishna leaves his body, you think, oh, a hunter shot him in the heel and killed him. So he died like everybody else. But one who has actually studied the scripture and understood knows that when Krishna left his body, how did he leave his body? He actually left with his body. He left in his original spiritual form. Because the time for his pastimes was over, he performed the miraculous appearance of appearing ordinary, but yet he performed an extraordinary activity. And this you will understand only if you study the scripture properly. See, everybody wants to understand Krishna's activities. But to understand Krishna's activities, you must read the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam consists of 12 cantos. And Krishna's pastimes appear in the 10th canto. So, how many volumes are there? There are 30 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, if you want to hear about Krishna, you should first read 28 volumes. After you read 28 volumes, then you will understand Krishna's activities. Because these 28 volumes are to prepare you to understand Krishna's activities. But people don't do that. Krishna, let's see what he did with the gopis. They want to read that first. But if you want to understand his activities, you read 28 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam, then you read Krishna's activities, then you will understand them. I'll give you an example. When I was a doctor, just starting out after my MBBS, I was doing my post-graduation as a house surgeon. So I was standing with my senior, a registrar, and we were next to a patient who was about to die. And the patient's relative was standing next to him. And while we were trying to save his life, the patient's heart stopped. So when the patient's heart stopped, we had to revive the heart. Now how do you revive the heart? There are two ways of reviving the heart. One is to give an electric shock. When you give an electric shock, the heart starts beating again. The other way of reviving the heart, if there is heart has stopped due to asystole, is by giving one punch on the heart like this. So when you give one punch on the heart, what happens is the heart getting that shock, it starts beating again. So when this person's heart stopped, the doctor, senior doctor who was there, he gave one hefty punch on the chest of the man. And the patient's relative, that young son who was standing next to him, 25-year-old boy, saw this doctor punching his father on the chest, and he punched the doctor on his chest. So he saw that activity as a violent activity to hurt his father, when in actual fact the activity that was being performed by the doctor was to save his father's life. But how could he understand? Because to understand what was being done for his father, he had to travel through 5.5 years of medical school And after traveling through 5.5 years of medical school, then he would understand what is going on. So also, people try to understand Krishna's pastimes without trying to go through the required responsibility of going through the first 28 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam. And they straight away want to pick out what does he do with gopis, how does he die, all these activities. But if you want to understand Krishna's activities, you read 28 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam, which prepares you to read Krishna's activities. Just like if you want to understand how you can make a heart start beating again by punching it, you have to go through 5.5 years of medical school. So Krishna's activities are transcendental, but it's not easy to understand them. Therefore Krishna says that when you finally understand them, then you won't come back to this world. So don't try to understand them right in the first lesson. First you understand what is God, who am I. First understand God exists. Then understand who is God. Understand who am I. Then understand why you are in the mess you are in, karma and reincarnation. Learn how to face death. Understand what are the different forms of yoga. Understand that you are what you eat, that you cannot begin spiritual life unless you change your diet towards a spiritual diet. Understand what is spiritual master. Learn to chant the holy name of God. And then gradually you shall make progress to reading Srimad Bhagavatam. And after you read 28 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam, then you can understand Krishna's pastimes. You cannot understand Krishna's pastimes immediately. Any other questions? Is that all? Yes. There is nothing like prasad of demigods, because demigods are also great devotees of Lord Krishna. So actually when we offer, we first offer to Vishnu. We first offer to Yagna. That means first we offer to Vishnu. And that offering is then offered to the demigods. So you are actually making that offering first to Vishnu. Any other questions? Okay, so then we shall chant the holy name of, say, oh fine, I've attended a course on Bhagavad Gita, that's it. This is actually the beginning of the rest of your devotional life. So today you should make a resolution. That resolution is that you must chant the names of God every single day. Make it a point, make it a discipline, and chant a fixed number of times God's name. For example, you can start with a minimum of 2 rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And make it a point to stick to those 2 rounds and try to keep on increasing that. Try to keep on increasing your chanting. Make an effort with God's help to follow the 4 regulative principles. And eventually you will reach a stage when you are chanting all the time, Kirtaniya Sadahari. It is very important to keep satsang. So to keep satsang, you can come to a temple. I give a lecture on different aspects of bhakti at on different subjects, on different aspects of bhakti every Thursday. Every Thursday in the Sri Sri Radha Gopinath Mandir, I continue giving lectures on different aspects of bhakti. Therefore, this is not the end of the course, this is the beginning of the course which continues every Thursday. So you must come on Thursday and you must attend and you must recharge your spiritual batteries. Because by attending and hearing about Bhagavad Gita, you charge your batteries, but these batteries will become discharged. Therefore, to recharge your batteries, you must come to the temple, you must hear again, you must chant.
We are grateful to you for 7 days.
So who is more grateful, I or you, remains to be seen. Now, what I want to tell you is that those of you who want copies of Kali Santarano Upanishad or Chaitanya Upanishad,